All right, I'm gonna do part B of 8.5 now. This will be a much shorter lesson. So I'm gonna start by, on page 469, I'm going to do problem 27 out with you so you can follow the process that is needed to do this. Now, they start off by saying that I is 1, 0, and that's not very good. Let me fix that. I is 1, 0, J is 0, 1, and they want you to take A and B. A is 3, 0, B is 0, 6. A is 3, 0, and B is 0, 6. And they want you to take those two, and first they want you to find the end point of the coordinate if you took vector AB. So vector AB, remember, to find these coordinates, you basically take the last part minus the first part. So 0 minus 3 and 6 minus 0. And when you simplify that, it comes out to an easy -3, 6. Now, if you were trying to force these two, some kind of operation that you could do with these two, remember scalar multiplication, into this form, what would you have to multiply by this one? Of course, remember 0 times anything is 0. What would you have to multiply times 1 to get -3? But -3. So -3i. And then you'd need to multiply j by 6 plus 6j. And that's all you have to do for those. And that would be your answer. I would do this part first and then find this. Now the next part I'm going to do is number 31, then I'm going to do number 32. And the directions say find the angle each vector makes with the positive x-axis, then determine the angle between the vectors. Now when they say the angle between the vectors, remember, they're not going to ask for an angle that's greater than 180 degrees. So if your angle between the two comes out something greater than that, you have to subtract that from 360 rather, to get the one that's less than 180 degrees. All right, so let me show you how this is done. This is number 31. They give us vector u is 3, 4. And it's funny, in this book, they use parentheses. I've seen other books, when they refer to a vector, use kind of pointy parentheses. I'll show you what that looks like. If vector v is 1, 0, they go like this. And I think it's good to use a different type of outside of grouping symbol to make it more obvious that we're talking vectors. So be careful. Now, our book uses this, but in the future, when you're working on pre-calculus, and I do suggest you take pre-cal when you go on to college, because a college pre-cal is going to be more complete than a pre-cal here in high school. And I think you'd be well served to take pre-cal if you need to take a math when you go on to college. All right, so if I were to draw this out, and I suggest for all of these in 31 to 34 that you draw them out so you can see what you're talking about. It just has to be a sketch. This one, 3, 4, is somewhere around there. There's your U. And your V is 1, 0. Now, 1, 0 is around here. Now, that's right on the x-axis. So what do you think? Now, they label these alpha and beta, whatever. This is alpha, and this is what beta looks like. But you can just keep theta, as long as you keep track of which theta is which. That's fine with me. What's the angle here? It's going to be 0 degrees. Okay? Now, this one, remember, you can use the coordinates. Here's your theta or alpha, if we use that. The x value here is 3. The y value is 4. So opposite over adjacent, tangent of alpha equals opposite over adjacent. And when we use inverse tangent with this fraction, we find that our alpha is 53.13 degrees. 53.13 degrees. So 53.13. Well, the difference between 0 and 53.13 is 53.13. So your final answer, an angle between alpha and beta, or U and V, is 53.13 degrees. Now that one was excessively easy. 33 is a little more work. Let's take a look at 33. Hopefully I can fit it all on one board. Now we'll have to erase in the middle of the problem. All right, so 33. I'll write a little smaller so we can fit it. U is -1, 2. V is 3, -4. Now when we do that on an XY grid, let's see, -1, 2, about there. There's our U. And our V, 3, -4, is like this. Now I've got 3, -4. 3, -4. I've got -1, 2. So my theta, or alpha maybe, is here, and my beta is there. Alpha, beta, well, tangent of alpha, this one, opposite over adjacent, 2 over -1. Now when I do I shouldn't do that. When I do inverse tangent here, it gives of a negative number, it's going to give me a negative value. It gives me -63.43. Well, this is alpha. This angle, it has to do with the that 180 plus this, this plus 180 plus this, -63.43 negative, comes out to the real value here, which is 116.57. So that's our actual alpha, 116.57. Because if you took 116.57 and took tangent of it, it comes out to the same thing as -63.43. So because of that, that's why they gave you that. I'm not 100% sure why it doesn't give me the 116 instead of the negative angle, but that's the way the calculator works. All right, so the next one, let me just erase that, is to do the beta. And we know tangent of beta, this one down here. Remember, we want all the way around to here. We want this piece of information. It's going to give us this piece of information. So opposite over adjacent, -4 over 3. So beta, according to the calculator, when I plug in -4 over 3 and do inverse tangent, it gives me -53.13. Well, that's this angle. That makes sense in this case. However, because we really want this from the positive all the way around the positive angle, 360 added to that is going to give us the beta that we're looking for. All right, and that's going to give us 306.87. And that is the actual beta. All right. The thing I was talking about earlier is the angle between alpha and beta. I wish I had a better way of graphing this out. I'll just draw it over here. If this is alpha and or u, and this is beta, one of these angles, if we subtract the two, if we say this minus this, it gives us this angle. 306 minus 116. So 306.87 minus 116.57. That gives us, so beta minus alpha gives us 193, 90.3, excuse me. Well, that's great, except we don't want the angle that's bigger than 180. So what we need to do is if the angle comes out to something bigger than 180, you have to subtract that from 360. So 360 minus the 190.3, and that's going to give us our value of 169.7. 9.7 degrees. And that is the angle between U and V. And that's what they're asking for in number 33. So your assignment is going to be nice and short for this part. I'm going to erase this now that we have that one done. And it's going to be, now I say nice and short in numbers, but it may take you a little bit longer than it takes me to do it. 8.5 Part B, page 469, and that is 28 to 34 evens. And that is it for today.